How's it going, everybody? This is Sydney, and this is my manga reading log for August of 2024. I'm going to be starting with Tokyo Pop, One Piece, a few publishers that I didn't get much from. Starting with the final volume of Since I Could Die Tomorrow, which is Volume 4. This was an interesting read. A lot of sad stuff happens, a lot of reflection, contemplation on death, and how lives are lived. It does get a bit confusing to pick up the multiple perspective shifts that happen in this series. Overall, it's a pretty decent read. It's definitely a unique read, I would say that. It's good if you're interested in like autobiographical style stories. It's not autobiographical from what I can tell, but it's very. Um, it feels like it could be autobiographical. There's not a lot of like fantastical elements to it. It feels like a raw depiction of people's lives. At least I'm pretty sure this has nothing to do with anything that happened in real life, but overall it's a interesting story. Then we've got the 8th volume of Usotoki Rhetoric. Now, I have been up and down on this series. It seems very acclaimed, but I just haven't really got a lot of love for it so far. I enjoyed this volume and the mystery that was handled in this volume, all the character interactions and that sort of stuff. It does seem to be heading towards a direction I'm not a huge fan of, but we have a few more volumes for the story to conclude before I can figure out if what I think's happening is actually going to happen. Then we've got Atom the Beginning, Volume 8. This one had an interesting change to the story format where we're going to a new place, meeting a new person, and then potentially learning about a mysterious figure in Dr. Ochanamizu's grandfather, or Ochanamizu's grandfather, who I think is a doctor, and what I think is supposed to be Astro Boy. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not up to date at all on Astro Boy lore. Still new to a lot of Tezuka stuff. We also have an interesting surgery robot with some stuff that's happening with him that is really cool. Really interested to find out more about that next volume. Then, speaking of Tezuka, we've got Osamu Tezuka's Shakespeare Manga Theater. Now, this collects adaptations of Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, Hamlet, The Taming of the Shrew and Othello, but it also contains something called Romeo and Robiette. And I guess I didn't realize it when I started reading it, that it's basically just, it's stupid that I didn't realize this. Romeo and Robiette, Romeo and Juliet. It's a version of Romeo and Juliet in the world of Astro Boy, which was really odd. I mean, I liked the read, and the ending to it was so weird. I mean, I think that's the standout story from this volume for sure. It was enjoyable, though. Let's see. I think that's... Oh, no. There's one more publisher I only had one book from, and that is Inklore. I think this is the second book I've gotten from them. It's Father, I Don't Want This Marriage. I knew nothing about this book until I saw it at my local used bookstore. I didn't buy it at the local used bookstore because it wasn't used. It was one of the new volumes. But it is a villainess, and it looks so gorgeous. And I have basically a rule: if something's a villainess and it's not like villainess that's kind of that's like a shonen villainess. I guess there's only one exception to that. Like, I'm getting off track. I'm trying to say there's one villainess series I don't really care about. It's that Otome Games, Reincarnating the World of Otome Games, that shonen anime that came out, because it felt like it was just kind of talking down to Otome Games and the whole subgenre. But besides that, the only type of villainess stories I don't really read are the ones that are very not fan servicey, but with explicit relations between men and women or women and women, because I don't know if I've stated this before, I just feel uncomfortable reading explicit portrayals of women for some reason. I think it's just because it doesn't do anything for me and it's just kind of awkward. But yeah, very off track. Just to say that I read most villainesses. This was a really, really good, beautiful villainess. Like, the art is so stunning. Like, I mean, it does, at first blush, it does look like a very typical villainess. I didn't even explain the concept. um, it's really not too different from the usual. Reborn after being poisoned. I think this one's actually not an isekai. Um, she's essentially. I'm trying to remember the actual plot now. I feel like a fake fan. Um, she's basically she was a completely different person in her past life, very clingy to this one guy who turned out to be terrible for him, terrible for her, and now she broke that off, and now she's pursuing a different path, and that's why it's father I don't want this marriage, because that marriage was the one that got her killed. So yeah, very good villainess. I definitely recommend it. Definitely the best ink lore I've seen so far. Publishing's good. No problems with the front and back. It's great showing for ink lore. Now I'm switching over to Viz with Akane Banashi 7. This one was a fun volume introducing a new big character. He is also, I think, yeah. So they introduced a another prodigy like Rakugoka that she's competing with in this volume. But there's also some interesting depiction of a power system, kind of reminiscent of Nin from Hunter x Hunter, but applied to Rakugo. So that's really odd, and I'm really wondering how that's going to go. But I love the way it's applied so far, and I do really enjoy the series so far. I haven't even said the numbers of the last few volumes, have I? That was volume 7. And then we've got Boruto, volume 20. Contrary to most opinions, I feel I really enjoy Boruto. This was a decent ending to the first part, and I'm very excited to pick up 2 Blue Vortex. It does seem to, big spoilers, have a time skip between parts like Shippuden did. This is just my assumption off the end of this volume. Very excited to read it and see how in the world the plot's going to progress. Not talking much about what happens because it's the last volume of a 20-volume series. That would be spoiling too much. Then we've got In the Name of a Mermaid Princess, volume 3. 3? Yeah. I actually really enjoy this. It feels like a shoujo that came out in the 2000s that a lot of people would have loved and would have been an instant classic. I just don't really see much fanfare for it online. I love the concept of tackling the racism and tackling this. I guess it's kind of like speciesism, because they're like subspecies, different types of species, that sort of thing. Basically, her being a mermaid and then meeting all of these people who are wolf people, or I don't remember what the other races are. A bunch of other races, and basically her trying to get to this end goal and get away from where she was growing up, having to repress her mermaid side. I really liked this series so far, and I'm excited to read more of it. Then we've got JJK Volume 23. A whole lot of crazy stuff. Crazy fight happens in this volume. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's spoilers. A lot of spoilers, but there's this. The girl on the cover is basically the star of this volume. Her. I'm not gonna, what's her. Her. I always get these terms mixed up in shonen. Her power, essentially. I don't remember what the actual word for it is in JJK. I almost said quirk. It doesn't say on the back. Her power is very odd, and it seems extremely overpowered. So it's a really cool fight that happens with a not too surprising outcome, but I liked the fight, even if it was a bit hard to tell what's going on sometimes with Akutami's art style. Then we've got my special one, volume 7, and I did mention that I have kind of fallen off the series ever since the main 2 got together, but this volume kind of diverges into a separate romance that's happening, which I enjoyed reading about, because I enjoyed getting attention off the main 2 characters, because their romance was a little stale in my opinion. I'm not sure how long that's going to go for, but yeah, I enjoy the diversion from the main plot. Then we got Rainbow Days, volume 11. Right. I think we actually almost... Do we actually have it happen in this volume? I don't know. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have a confession happening in this volume. I don't want to spoil what it is. I'm sure you could have already read the back and seen what it was. I don't remember what the outcome of it though is. I don't think it went well. So yeah, we had a big confession and we're left on a cliffhanger for the end of this volume. I don't think the confession's going to go the way I want it to go. Uh, that specific love triangle is one that I'm not liking the direction it's taking because I don't like one of the relationships, but it's whatever. I'll keep reading Rainbow Days, even though I'm not a big fan of it personally. Then we've got Spy Family Volume 12. This volume, the big thing that's happening is I almost said the hijacking, that was last volume. We have more focus on Lloyd this volume. Lloyd and the director, I think she's a director. I don't remember what her actual role is. Handler. Like, I love when they have these names on here. I genuinely could not remember what her exact role was. We have a mission of his that's really intense and interesting, and we have, I think, some of the backstory for the Handler here, which is really fun and cool to read about. I enjoy this volume a lot. Then we've got Boys Abyss Volume 6, the classic soap opera shonen. I think it's a seinen, but I'm not sure. I never know what to say about Boys Abyss. I really like it. I love the soap opera-ness of it. I can understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's very intense. A lot of people that aren't great, but it's a really fun read every time. Always flipping through pages quickly. Then we've got Neighborhood Story Volume 3 by Ayazawa. The next one's going to be the last for this one. I actually didn't have a plot synopsis on the back. I think we actually have some turbulence between the main two's relationship in this volume. There's no plot synopsis, so I don't remember everything that happens. Yeah, we have essentially a lot of relationship drama this volume. And we do have, I guess it's not a big spoiler, but we have a fashion show at the end, which was really cool because we get to see the different students' perspectives on fashion, and fashion's one of the coolest parts about Neighborhood Story because everybody has such unique, distinct fashions to them, and it's really fun to read. That's all Viz, and I'm going to get into 7 Seas now with The Condemned Villainess Goes Back in Time and Aims to Become the Ultimate Villain Volume 2. This is another villainess I don't see a lot of people liking online because everybody's very dramatic and over the top and conniving, but I think that's really, really interesting to read about because the sister is a terrible person, and we kind of get to see the main character becoming a worse villainess because she has to... She's not becoming a villainess per se, but she's acting in a way that's going to reduce her sister's status and reduce her favor, but still being portrayed as a nice person. It's a really fun read. A lot of just bitter, mean people, and it's really fun to read about. I like it a lot. Kind of reminds me of Villainess Turns the Hourglass, where it's actually the villainess acting like a villainess. Then we've got Crossplay Love Otaku X Punk Volume 9. We have the Culture Club this volume, which was really fun to read about. I think this is I almost said the Culture Club. Cross-dressing. Maid Cafe? What was it? Oh no, we have leading up to the Maid Cafe. We don't actually have the Maid Cafe in this volume. I think at least. Yeah, because they're talking about setting up a maid cafe with cross-dressing characters, and with the main male lead being a cross-dressing character himself, he doesn't want the other male lead, who's also a cross-dressing person, to see him cross-dressing because he doesn't want to be, identity revealed that he's a guy. But I feel like we're getting closer to the point where they're going to find out about each other and then figure out what in the world they're going to do, because they thought they were two women in love with each other, but instead they're two guys who dress as two women who are both in love with each other. So that's fun. Then we've got My Girlfriend's Child Volume 5. A lot of sad stuff happened this volume. It's a really tough journey for the main character. It's a very compelling, good drama. I'd recommend it wholeheartedly. It's a really, I don't want to say fun, compelling read. It's not fun because it's depressing. Great series, though. Then we've got The Honker of Don't Call It Mystery, Volume 9 to 10. We're finishing up the mystery with the twins this volume, and then we are going back to Let's see. Oh yeah, we have the mystery of the twins is like maybe a eighth of the volume, and the rest is this like mystery with murders and a serial murderer, which made me cry, which doesn't happen too much, so you know it's good. I just hit the mic. I hope that did not come through on the video. Great series. Definitely read it if you like mystery. Even if you don't like mystery, I don't like mystery. I can never tell where things are going to go, but I still like reading it. Then we've got Ennead Volume 3. I liked this volume. It got smutty near the end, and of course, because it's a lot of ancient gods and morals were different way back in ancient Egyptian times. These gods they're just not good people. um, so the spicy scene is an essay scene, which, of course, if that's something that turns you off or you can't read about, then just skip it or don't read the series. But if you don't mind it, I think it's a really well done essay scene where it's kind of the aggressor. I don't want to spoil too much about it. I think it's a good series. I wouldn't say great. It's a very interesting thing to read about because it kind of takes some existing parts of Egyptian mythology and canonizes them in a new fiction, which is really interesting. I don't know how many times I said the word interesting. I need to work on that. Anyways, great read, or pretty good read, not fantastic. Killing Stalking Volume 7. We are starting to get the comeuppance for one of these main characters for being a terrible person. So I'm happy about that. But again, this is a series I'm just reading because I want to see how it ends. I want to finish it. I'm not a fan though. Then we've got Orb on the Movements of the Earth, volumes 5 to 6. We're finishing up. Good gosh. Oh no, that shine is not very flattering on the monk's head with just the bald. We're finishing up I can't really spoil what we're doing in this volume without spoiling the progression of events, but we do have some new characters introduced and a new turn to the plot, because this plot's kind of worked on different twists of like slowly learning the information about heliocentrism. I think it's a really good read. I just don't like the art style, but it looks like the anime does have a much sharper, better art style. I feel bad saying that the art's not good, but the art's just distractingly not good in this series. So I would definitely say watch the anime first. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. It just looks like the art's going to be better. Then we've got the Titan's Bride Volume 4 with a lot of raunch in this volume. They're literally going to sex therapy. And yeah, I love this series. It's fun, it's smut, and it's got some interesting world building to it. I can't talk much about it though because most of it's explicit, and I don't want to just talk about that sort of stuff constantly. Then we've got Yokai Cats Volume 8. Nothing really about this series. It's just cute 4-comas. Not substantial, but just a cute read. Always fun, light read. Then we've got the final volume of Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. I don't know if I'm butchering the way I'm saying that or not. I actually don't remember exactly how the story ends. I think it kind of ends on just drifting off into the continuation of the story sort of ending. Not like everything's resolved sort of ending. Yeah, it's not like the main character's story has ended. It's more like our viewing of the main character's story has ended. So there's not like any huge plot revelations in this volume. It's just kind of, we just cut off seeing her viewpoint of the world. And I think it was a really good series. It's a very cozy read. A lot of beautiful art, great landscapes, interesting world building. I would definitely recommend this series. It's only 5 3-in-1s or 2-in-1s. I'm not sure. Anyways, was all 7 Cs. Then I've got starting Kodansha. I think it's Kodansha, then Yen Press. I've got A Condition Called Love, Volume 9. Now, this wraps up the main arc of the series, or the main first arc of the series, I would say. I really don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, or starting the next volume, but the author even said at the end of this volume, that this was initially intended to be what she planned to have for the ending of this series, but it's still going, so I don't know what's going to happen with these next volumes. It's a really good series. You just kind of have to get past the. You have to be able to tolerate the characters being very rough to start with, because the main male lead specifically is a very hard read to stomach if you've dealt with people in your past that are toxic or been in very rough relationships. It's hard to read about because he comes off very, very manipulative and controlling, but we get a good explanation for that, and we get a slow redemption of his character. Um, I think it's a great read if you can get past that, but if you can't, that's completely understandable. Then we've got The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Unfortunately, the cover is a little damaged. I don't think it's coming across in the camera, though. This is like one of my new favorite shoujos. It's just really pretty art, really good characters, a lot of interesting motivations. I said interesting again. Crap. I think I explained the plot in the previous reading, or the previous time I talked about this. Just student at a school for mostly guys, and a student at a school that's next door that's all girls and extremely, I almost said pretentious, extremely prolific, I guess I would say. And we get to see their growth together and how their relationship's forming. And we do actually get to see some more depth to her close friend and why she acted the way she did in the first volume. Really good series, though. Very much recommended. Then we've got Gachiakuta, Volume 3. Finishing up, I think, the first big job that the main character goes on. I think he actually kind of discovers the truth behind his powers in this volume, but I don't really have much else I can say about it. I enjoyed the read, I just don't remember too many specifics. Then we've got the final volume of King in Limbo, Volume 3. Can't really discuss the ending, but it's a pretty good ending to a really interesting sci-fi series. Definitely recommend to give it a shot. If you're into sci-fi, it's just a good read. I can't explain it without spoiling much. Oopsies. Then we've got Medalist Volume 3. We have the first major competition that the young girl, I think Yui's her name? No, Inori. The first big competition, Inori, starts, and we get to see all of the competitors, a lot of technical information about ice skating and competition. Really good read. And then we got to kind of like a mini time skip of like, I think 6 months, which felt very stilted and weird to me, but I'm going to keep reading the series. I just kind of didn't like that because it felt like we were just kind of cutting a lot of the character progression and then just jumping to a point where the character was more developed. It's still a great series. Then we've got the final volume of My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. Not the biggest fan of the ending of this series. It's an understandable ending, though. It was good. A lot of cute references, a lot of good character growth, a lot of development for the reason everybody is the way they is. Everybody is the way they are, and how even though the daughter and mother are very similar in certain ways, they are extremely different in other ways, like their socialization tactics, or their socialization skills, and, just their general personalities. They have similar interests, but are different people, and that's nice to see that it's not just her, but younger. It's a great series, though, especially at only 4 volumes. If you like any anime and stuff from the 90s and before, it's fun to read and see all the references, and it's also a good rom-dram? Romantic drama, I think? I don't think it's a comedy. Anyways, we've got One Dance Volume 10. It's getting an anime, so excited about that. Finishing up a dancing battle this volume. And then what's next after that? Right, we're finishing up one dancing competition and then beginning training for another dancing competition, so just a lot of that this volume. Not really any specifics I can talk about, though. Yeah, still a good read, though. Then we've got Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen, Volume 4. A lot of cute creations in this volume. I will say I feel like the magic of the series is kind of waning a little bit. I do feel like some of the earlier creations in the series were more interesting, and now it just kind of feels like we're just getting ingredients from the real world, and we're getting their analog in Witch Hat Atelier universe, and just cooking like a normal meal. So I'm kind of losing the magic a bit on there, but I mean, it's still a good read, especially because there's all these characters we already know and love. Then we've got Daemons of the Shadow Realm, Volume 5. Yeah, I think this was a lot of stuff happening with the village this volume, and a couple revelations, and also a big problem that happened. Can't explain it without spoiling what happens, but a very intense volume. A lot of things happen in it. And then we've got... Actually, that was the start of Square Enix. There's like 3 Square Enixes in here. We've got The Villainess's Guide to Not Falling in Love. I enjoy this series. I also just kind of don't remember a lot about it. All I know about it is I just remember the character designs and the art being very well done and pretty. I think this volume kind of expands more on the magic system in the series, which is always nice to read about. It's good to understand the underlying, I don't want to say builds, just the underlying systems in place for these series. So it was a good read. It's just, I don't remember much of what happens. I mean, I do know that we kind of get some background on one of the characters and the fact that she's probably should be dead, but she's not, so that's also a mystery that's a bit set up. Then we've got The Ice Guy and the Cruel Girl, Volume 6, aka they're still not together, but they really feel like they're about to be together every volume. It does feel like they're just getting cut right off, right as they're about to get together. It's a really fun read with gorgeous art, very highly recommended. Then we have, for the rest is Yen Press, we have Go 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 Ghost, a vengeful woman who basically tried to commit suicide and had her, a spirit basically stop her and say, essentially just is going to help her get revenge on all the people in her office life that wronged her and drove her to suicide because she had a very rough time in her office. I don't know if she worked for a black company or if she just worked with a bunch of terrible people. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not a huge fan personally, though. Then we've got Honey Lemon Soda Volume 6, and I really don't remember anything about this volume. Oh yeah, right. This is the series where the main female lead's father is basically just trying to take complete control of her life, but we have her finally kind of standing up for herself and growing and developing, thanks of course to her friends and the main male lead. It was a good read. I love the development in this series, along with A Condition Called Love. They kind of separate themselves from the typical shoujo romances by having a lot of very flawed characters that grow over time. I guess that's why they're both longer running series. Yeah, it's a really good series, and the art style is very unique. Then we got The Princess of Convenient Plot Devices, Volume 5. A lot of fighting in this volume. It's mainly fighting and then some plot revelations at the end of it. Good read, though. I would say it's one of the more interesting villainesses, even though I don't know if it's technically a villainess, because this is essentially just a girl born into a world of a BL novel where all the guys are into each other. Good read, though. Then we've got Shy, Volume 7. This is a lot more comedy in this volume than I'm used to seeing. But we're getting close to the end of a tiny little sub-arc here. I like the art on the back. I don't know why it makes me think of Star Wars. Can't spoil much about that without spoiling what happens. Not a fan of this cover, though. His hands are a little, just a little bit wonky. Yeah, it's Shy Volume 7. Then we've got the oversized yen presses with Abandoned Empress Volume 8. And I did finally find out why people don't like the ending to the series without spoiling what happens. I kind of understand, but I still think it doesn't deserve the vitriol it's gotten. The art's beautiful. We're finally getting who should have been the heroine of this series, but, because the Abandoned Empress kind of overtook the role of the heroine, she's getting reintroduced, and I think she's actually a bit of a villain in this volume. Very villainous in this volume. Let's see. Yeah. So the series is, I think, one more volume, so I really want to know what's going to happen in the next volume, because this one was a really riveting read. Then we've got Kind of a Wolf by Machi Suihiro. This is the sequel to Fox Colored Jealousy with a wolf boy and a university teacher. Yeah. Cute BL, good. Definitely read Fox Colored Jealousy first. It'll help you kind of get a better understanding of the universe and know some of the background characters in this volume, in this one-off. It was a good BL, though. Then we've got Minato's Laundromat, Volume 3. The series, again, I think I mentioned in the previous iteration of this when I read Volume 2. It's growing on me. The age gap's still weird, but it definitely seems like... I like all the characters, is the thing. I like all the characters, and I like this subplot we're getting about the main male lead and his crush on a teacher he had when he was going through high school. I really like this series so far, which I just don't hope it... I hope it doesn't end the way I think it's going to end. But regardless, next we have Why Ray Liana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion. I don't remember too many... Yeah, this, like Abandoned Empress, the heroine, the rightful heroine from the original work, is also being a villain and trying to take down Ray Liana. Which, I mean, I guess it's just kind of I don't know if it's an established trope or if it's just a coincidence. Very interesting volume. We get a lot of drama and interesting plot developments. I said interesting twice after I said I'm going to stop trying to say that, and I did it again. Anyways, good series, good manhwa. The anime is just... it's serviceable. It's a good way to consume the material, but it's just the animation's not good in it. Then we've got The Summer Hikaru Died, Volume 4. Good amount of world building in this volume. We get some explanation for why who the person who replaced Hikaru is potentially, and some explanation for all the events that have been happening around the main two characters. And we also get this character who's kind of playing a more pivotal role in understanding the events unfolding around everybody. Great read. Great series. 100% recommended. Another 100% recommend is Toga Oni, Volume 4. Historical fiction. And I'm trying to make sure I remember... Okay. Actually, was this... I'm trying to remember if this was... this volume or the last volume. Okay, yeah, it was... We have large development into the main... I don't remember his name, and this is not a shoujo rom-com or anything, but the main male lead's backstory and how he grew up with this Hito Kotonushi, who lived up on a mountain, granted wishes, and now we're basically trying to go back to her, and I guess spoilers, they can't find her, and they have to figure out, by talking to other gods, where she went. So they're off to a summit to speak with all the other gods. It's a very interesting historical fiction. I did it again. I don't want to count how many times I said interesting in this video. But yeah, definitely getting a highly recommended. Don't know why that's there. I guess it's because they have the nudity that's... like you'll see in some manga and some anime where it's just artistic nudity, where there's no genitalia painted on, or there's no nipples, but it's just like the form and the shape. Because I don't think there's anything like sexually explicit in this volume. But yeah, that is everything I read in August of 2024. It's less than I wanted to, because my backlog is starting to grow, and that's concerning because I haven't had time to read any of the series that aren't ones I'm currently picking up. So trying to get better about that. Just got to push myself to read more. But yes, thanks everyone for the support and for watching through to the end. If you did, you're a real one. Gonna talk to you guys next month. I always want to do another type of video with like maybe talking about my favorite manga, my favorite anime, but I just never feel motivated to do so. Maybe sometime I'll get over that. I'm really not sure. Still working on it though, but regardless, I will see everybody next month for my haul for September of 2024. Ta ta.